everything that we ingest, everything that we, we take in, some kind of way it comes out.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's part of the issue, but the big issue is what he takes in as a whole. And I was thinking about my upbringing and how the music that I listened to motivated me. And particularly the music that interjected violence into the lyrics, it made me want to be violent.
Bless this soil, bless this earth, blessed with rhymes.
Controversial, I'm political, somewhat subliminal, philanthropic, non-conformist, so I'm criminal. I'm a criminal.
Did you hurt me? Don't be scared, see. When it all goes down, I'll be there.
There he is, IronE Singleton, still with us.
Drop that load, pack your dreams, and fly high with me.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night.
Good night.
Wherever you are in the world, depending on where you are. Welcome to another episode of Blindsided by The Walking Dead in The Raw. I am your host, IronE Singleton, and along with my co-host here, the lovely Commaleta Singleton, who's also my wife.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Hello. I wish you guys were here. It feels so crazy talking to a camera.
Yeah, and
you know what I mean? It feels wonderful when I'm on the other side of a post and see all the beautiful comments and likes. It makes it more real. It makes us feel more connected.
Yeah, it would. We're here in the studio. We're here in the IronE School of the Arts at the acting studio. We have chairs set up and everything. So, may possibly make that happen in the
live studio
in the near future. Yeah,
I think we should definitely do that.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I'm thinking about, just to jump right on into our subject, because this is, we're going to try to, I said I want to go ahead and try to make this a 20-minute show. I've had several parents to come to me and they talk to me about their children, but there's one particular parent I have in mind that came to me, and she told me that her 16, 17-year-old son was trying to give her problems. And he started trying to talk back. So, he's a high schooler. And she said, she asked me for advice, what could I do to kind of help the situation? And I recommended a really big pair of boxing gloves. I was like, if you don't have boxing gloves, then a nice pair of weight gloves would do. Yeah, nice. But no, I asked her and I said, well, what does your child listen to? What is he into? She said, well, he's into rap. He likes to rap. And I said, okay, what kind of rap is it? Because I'm a rapper. Like, I rap. But she said, well, just whatever kind of rap. He just loves listening to rap. So I said, it could be some gangster rap or this. She's like, yeah, just any kind of rap. And there it is right there. I think that's a big part of it. But it made me think about media as a whole. Everything that we ingest, everything that we, we take in. Some kind of way it comes out.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's part of the issue, but the big issue is what he takes in as a whole. And I was thinking about my upbringing and how the music that I listened to motivated me. And particularly the music that interjected violence into the lyrics, it made me want to be violent. Unfortunately, like there's a song that says, we some head busters, we will knock out, because we some head busters. And at that time, as a teenager, I wanted to bust some heads. And so that was one of those really popular songs back then, and people would just start bouncing and jumping all over the club. And you remember those days?
Oh, absolutely, I do. Absolutely. There were a couple of songs. There are a couple songs on my favorite of all, maybe not favorite of all time, but favorite of all time, Get Crunk songs, if you will.
Get Crunk.
that I would not listen to on a regular, and that I would not encourage or recommend anybody else listen to. But and I understand that those types of songs, because of the beats, especially for me, they tend to really pull me in, and that's kind of how they get. That's how they get us. That's how they get the kids. Is that they put these very venomous lyrics on top of wonderful beats, and the soundtrack is amazing, pulls them in, and before they know it, they're ingesting all of these negative things, and it definitely manifests itself subconsciously.
Yeah.
Subconscious is real.
Yeah.
It is real, and none of us are immune to what we take in. Anything that we expose ourselves to, whether it be on the television, what we see, what we hear, the things that we encounter on a daily basis, those things have an impact on our subconscious, if not our conscious. A lot of things have an impact on our conscious, but I think on our conscious rather. But I think that we have to be very careful and very mindful of the things that we subject ourselves to, and more in particular, the things that we allow our children to be exposed to.
Boom. And getting back to the kids, you said that it affects the kids. I think it affects everybody. It affects all people, all human beings, even adults too. I've seen adults at the clubs. Not as much these days. I don't frequent clubs much these days, and haven't really been a club goer unless I'm probably invited out to a special event or something like that. But back to the kids. And I told her, and I don't just want to come down rough and hard on gangster rap, but I do want to come down rough and hard on gangster rap. So we were, so the reason why I started writing rhymes is because of gangster rap. And it was 2003. And I was on my way to an event. I was the mascot for the Atlanta Braves, and I was driving, trying to put on my costume in the car. Now, for all of you that are familiar with the character Homer, they've discontinued the mascot Homer, I think since last year, 2 years ago, or something like that, since they opened the new park, the Braves. And I was trying to get my head together, and I was trying to put on my pants and all this stuff because I was running late for an appearance at a Publix, I think. And a song came on the radio, and I won't say which artist it is because that artist is still around and prevalent. But even if that artist were not, I would still keep that artist covered because that's not what this show is about. Put stuff out there to denigrate anybody that would run contrary to what we represent, what we stand for. But that artist was using misogynistic language, disrespecting women. Lots of profanity, unnecessary profanity, but it was bleeped out because it was on the radio. And at that time, I just pulled out a piece of paper and I just started writing. I just started writing rhymes at that time. My daughter inspired me. I had 2 children for sure. I don't know if our third was on the way. I don't know if Easy was on the way, but definitely 2 kids in 2003. And I started writing rhymes instantly at the red light. The next red light I got to because we didn't have that hands-free law then. And I just started, and I wrote my first rhyme, and it was so whack. It was disrespectfully whack. Like any rapper would just be upset with me.
I didn't see those lyrics, did I?
I said something. I think I rhymed them. Yeah. I think I told you the lyrics, but it was something like as opposed to saying Waffle House, I called it Waffly Hoose, so that it could rhyme with my next line.
Probably why they missed the cut.
Waffly Hoose. I was like, oh Lord. Rap is creative. It's about being creative. You gotta start somewhere. So
that's a message, guys. That's another take home for the kids. You guys are inspired to do something, anything. Just start.
Message. Yeah, that is. Just start. Just get going. That's it. Just get going. And so I got going because I felt like I did have a skill to write. I knew I was a writer also, but I wasn't writing as much as I should have. But I think that was kind of like the beginning of my writing also, starting with the rhymes, perhaps. I think so. I don't know which one came first, the beginning process of me writing my one-man show or the rhymes. But around that time, I just started writing.
Was that before or after you started writing comedy?
Okay. Well, no, the comedy thing, I wasn't really writing comedy. That was, I wasn't writing comedy back then. I was just getting booed off the stage. I was getting up on stage and just improv, basically.
Oh.
Yeah, I had certain punchlines in mind, and I would just get up on stage, and that was right after I graduated from college in '98, and I got booed off stage for some years. Sometimes I got laughs, and most of the time I got booed off stage.
Yeah, those comedy skits that you had together were just so poignant that I thought I saw them on paper. They're like embedded in my head.
That's a nice way of saying just awful. She said poignant. I love that word though. Instead of saying they were just terrible, traumatizing is the word that she really wanted to use. That's the word she had in her mind. But no, I had some decent stuff every now and then. But I'm glad the acting thing, the dramatic acting side, I'm glad that worked out as opposed to comedy, because you didn't expect to be funny all the time. But back to these.
You are great with comedy. I'll let you get back to the kids.
I have lots
you are great as long as it is something that comes. And I think that was the thing. I think that you were trying to. Even if you were scripting it in your mind, it was more scripted, and you do so much better when you're just in the moment, being funny.
Oh well, no, not with comedy, not with. I mean, I love to improv.
When it's not stand up, when you're not, trying to have
yes.
a yes. When you're just being yourself.
Yes.
You really can be funny naturally.
But what I realized is that stand-up comedy is so much different from just improv. Mm-hmm. Like, you're expected to be, and I think Robin Williams probably said, like, every 8 seconds you have to keep the laughter coming. But some comedy book I read, so you have to keep them laughing every 8 seconds. You have to keep the jokes coming, unless you're an established comic, and then they give you time to set up your story and all that stuff, set up and punch and everything. But with a beginning comic, you set up punch every 8 seconds or so, something like that. I think I learned.
That's a major skill right there.
But back to the kids. Yes. So I had 2 kids, maybe 3, and I was thinking about them, and I said, man, there's no way. I know one kid was 6 and my other was 3, and I had 2 girls first, and my boy came along. And I said, there's no way I want my kids to have to grow up and to listen to this. But at the same time, who am I to say what they can listen to if there is no alternative? Now, there's underground alternative rap, but if that's something I can do, why am I not doing it? Why am I not expressing myself that way? Mm-hmm. And so that's why I started writing. That was a big reason. I said, and other kids too, I wanted them to have alternatives. And that's what I presented. That's what I wanted to present at that time, because I understood the power of media. I understood the effect it had on me when I was a young. And particularly because of my community, coming from an impoverished community, inner city housing projects where not many biological fathers were around. There were men in the picture, but then there are quite a few that just weren't there because of, and we discussed it earlier because of the school to prison pipeline situation and the drug situation, with the community being inundated with that type of stuff and all of the ills of that community. The fathers weren't around to kind of serve as that positive influence. And so these kids, and I realized, I was not as overwhelmed by, the messages of these rap artists, but I recognized that a lot of my friends were, and they looked up to these rappers, these gangster rappers, as their heroes, as their role models. And it's different when you come from a home where the home is stable and the kids are getting positive influences all around them. But when the radio or the TV is doing a big part, is serving a big part in raising these kids, then that is very dangerous. So I want people to understand that people that are not from that type of situation may not be able to empathize, but I'm I think that's what we want to do, to kind of shed light on it and explain why it is so hard for kids from that type of situation to overcome the power of those lyrics. They're very powerful, and even in certain instances, I heard of a poet named Black Ice once say that rap is more powerful than crack, because when you take crack has to work its way into your bloodstream before it starts to affect your mind and other faculties of your existence, your body and everything. But words, rhymes, lyrics, they are injected directly into your spirit. So your spirit is
and true.
Yeah, so it's like with crack, your spirit it seems like it gets there a little later on, because it has to go through your body, your bloodstream, affect all that other stuff. But then when you're listening to music, because music is such a powerful force, it's so powerful, it goes right to your spirit. You hear a certain song, you just really get excited, and you're in the moment, and there's no telling what it might cause you to do. And so when you take it in repetitively, when that's on a constant rotation, listen to the radio, they have certain songs that they play all day long, on a loop. And I know of some kids, they come home from school and they just turn that radio on, and that's what they listen to.
Oh, well, most kids these days are consistently plugged in to something. So it's extremely, extremely powerful. And the amount of time that they spend listening to these lyrics, certainly can have a profound effect on their development, because they have developing minds. They're still in, a very critical stage of development. And I guess that's the difference between adults listening to it versus kids, although it affects us all to some degree, just some of us slower than others, because once you get past a certain point of being grounded and having a foundation, and learning who you are, and having something more to grasp on, to kind of knowing your direction. But when you're in a very fragile state of mind, and a fragile state of development, I think that it definitely can, it can be a more powerful influence for you. And so that's why I think it's extremely crucial that kids are, that those types of things are monitored, and that is minimized.
Right. And when you say a fragile state of mind, I would assume that you're implying that the dysfunction of their families or the environment from which they come, how it adds to that.
That's another aspect of it. When I say fragile state of mind, I'm talking, biologically, in terms of their development, in terms of where they are in their developmental phase. They have more growing to do. So their minds are underdeveloped. And so they're more impressionable at those ages. But that's another leg to it, because when you are, like you said, when you're growing up in environments that, are unstable, where you don't have a solid foundation, you come from a broken home. And even when you don't come from a broken home, don't get me wrong, it's not just broken homes. It's homes that are divided because people are trying to survive. You have a lot of families that are torn from, parents torn from their kids because they have no other alternative rather than working around the clock to make ends meet. And they're not there to supervise as regularly as they need to. And so these kids are being raised by... unfortunately, being raised by the televisions and their favorite artists or whomever, when you don't have filters. I have a couple of suggestions out there, guys, and kids and teenagers might not like me for this, but parents, if you're interested, 2 things, and I'll probably have to come back in another episode to talk about this, but if you're interested in having just a little bit more of ears and eyes on your babies as they have these cellular devices and these mobile devices in their hands, it's MM Parent Guard. I'm pretty sure that's the name of it on the App Store. But a very powerful application. You can research it yourself, look it up. Please comment if you can't find it. I'll try to put a link to it also in the comments so that you all have it. But it's very powerful. You can download it on a kid's phone, on your phone, and you can basically from your phone see activity to an nth degree in terms of, you know, the sites that they're going to, the applications that they're using, the percentage of time. And, you know, I know that might be overkill for some families, but for others it may be perfect because parents aren't able to be as involved. So, you know, I'll definitely share that resource, but there are others out there. You guys may have heard of others. Please put suggestions for other parents if you have any, because I think that this is real. You know, it definitely takes a community, and, you know, it's not always easy for us to, you know, be consistent about monitoring our kids ourselves. We kind of need a helping hand with that. So,
Well, that's good stuff.
Filtering.
Good stuff. Now, again, like I said, not to just bash the gangster rappers. I mean, but to actually, you know, just come down on the gangster rap. Because the issue I have is this. We have lots of gangster rappers that have overcome tremendous odds and made something out of nothing. And I applaud them, woo, because I'm not trying to knock anybody, trying to get their hustle on, if it's the right way, if it's the legal way, or whatever. But once those individuals get out of the situation, they learn better because they get to travel the world, they get to meet different people, and so on and so forth. And I think they get to the point where they know better. They understand the effect that that music has on those young, impressionable minds, and in addition to all the other minds. But they continue to put that out there. And I think that that is something that they have to deal with spiritually. It's something that they may want to look at themselves in the mirror and question whether or not, you know, it's worth it. You know, would they rather continue to make all those millions, all that money at the expense of losing so many young, impressionable minds? That's something that, you know, those individuals will have to deal with when their time here, their walk on this earth comes to an end. But at the same time, a lot of people say, well, what about movies? What about, you know, the other stuff that, you know, it's not just that, because what about in movies, these actors, they kill each other and this and that. But there is, for me, I recognize that there was a distinction. You know, like, well, you're an actor and you play these type roles. I recognize that there was a distinction. I recognize that the characters that Denzel Washington and Arnold Schwarzenegger and Matt Damon, all the, you know, and all the, you know, Angela Bassett, the characters that they played on or play on television in the movies, I knew that they were different from who they were because I seen them in interviews and different things like that. And they play all these different characters. Now the rap thing was that rapper was the same way in everything, and is even today. Rappers, gangster rappers today, they project the same persona in every single album. So that's how I viewed them. That's how my friends viewed them, and I would assume that it's the same today. I think they view these rappers the same. This is who they are. They're gangsters. They're robbers. They stick people up. They murder people. They disrespect women. They go around and sleep with different women. And that's like who they are. That's the life they live. So I think that's the reason why a lot of my contemporaries, my peers, just kind of attached themselves to that, and it was more powerful for them. Those were the heroes.
That's a very good point. I would say the other argument to be had in that same conversation is that repetition is powerful. So when you compare the amount of times that someone listens to a negative song versus the amount of time someone watches a movie that may be violent, it doesn't compare. It doesn't compare, you know? You'll listen to your favorite song twice a day at least, 10 days. At least. 7 days a week, I don't know, for months until it gets old. And then even, you know, of course, you have songs that are just timeless and you just keep going back to them and listening to them. I can't tell you my favorite songs, how many times I've heard them, you know, hundreds probably. And so repetition is powerful. It's key. And the more you hear, the more something plays in your mind. And even when you turn the radio off, you guys know, lyrics get stuck. Our friend Sven in Germany, he called it earworm, right?
Earworm.
An earworm. When you hear, when you know somebody puts a tune in your head and you can't get rid of it. But no, it's you know, it's real. It's like, you know, you even play those tracks back in your mind, and it's so, you know, very rare that you will regurgitate a line from a movie that, you know, may be relevant to something that's going on in the day, but you will hum tunes from your favorite song throughout. And so, that's just, you know, just an indication of how powerful music, how powerful music is.
Because those movies are not repetitively played like the songs are
Right.
on the radio.
Right.
And that's a huge thing. One of the first things I learned in my speech communications class, one of my speech communications classes, in addition to know your target audience, know your audience, but also, repetition is key when you're talking to your audience. You want to say the things you want to stick, you want to say over.
Oh, I'm sorry. You could have kept going, Sam. And it stopped.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, so we're back.
We are back.
All right, so
we're beyond our time.
okay, well, we're about to wrap it up though. But the things you want to say, the things you want to stick with your audience. You want to say over, repetition, over and over again, and it works because because we understand how powerful repetition is. So now with our kids, we didn't allow our kids to listen to any gangster rap coming up. And we didn't allow them to watch any horror, even though a lot of people know me for The Walking Dead. They never watched that until, not even our older daughter, until we gave her the opportunity when she became a teenager. She was 13, 14 years old, and she had no desire to watch it then. And, to this day, like our kids just are not horror fans. They don't get into it much. I'm talking about all the way from babies, all the way toddlers, all the way through. We did not allow them to listen to any music with profanity. We just didn't allow it. And because we don't use it in our household, so therefore we have the same expectations with what they listen to on the radio or on social media sites or on the internet. Mm-hmm. And so my advice for that mom, just to kind of sum it up, was, you probably don't want your son to take in all of that negative language from those gangster rappers. Rap is cool. I'm a rapper. I got an album, by the way, Hypocrisy. So look up that album. Check out my album, Hypocrisy. It's a good album. No profanities. Great for the kids. Great messages in it. But yeah, so it's like, just take that gangster rap away and see what happens.
Mm-hmm. I was gonna say a couple things. My mind's just going over here. I'm just having a conversation with myself. Oh,
that's why you were down over here.
No, but that's real, and it's gosh, I just forgot my point. But it's definitely important to monitor. That was the point that I was going to make. We definitely stepped back when our kids became adults. Our daughters, of course, are adults. Nevaeh 18, Hannah 21. And, Nev, we backed away from choosing, and I don't choose them, we don't choose their music for them, but, we encourage them and strongly encourage them to listen to things that are positive and not laced with so much venom, if you will.
Garbage in, garbage out.
Garbage in, garbage out. So we have that conversation with them all the time, but, of course, as adults, we try to give them room to make those decisions on their own. Even with my son, even with Easy, like I said, when I was very, very glad to see and know that he was open with me about what he listened to and what he watches. And when he brought a couple of songs to, when I listened to his, when he was plugged in one day and I listened to what he was listening to, I said, wow, son, I had that conversation with him. I said, I understand, like, this is banging right here. Like, the beat is wonderful, you want to just, I was like, I get it. But I said, you know what? You have to be very careful, son. I said, you cannot allow, music or television to use you as a puppet, if you will, in terms of dictating what you allow into your temple, into your body. I didn't use these exact words, but I said, it is important that you monitor and filter for yourself. Mom and Dad, we're not going to always be there to do it for you. So you have to be mindful of these lyrics and what you're taking in. I said, just know that there are always alternatives. I said, there's some great stuff out there. And so I gave him a couple of suggestions, a couple of artists. And just like we won't call out the artists on, the negative side of things, I'm not going to, polarize in this segment to suggest any rappers. But I did give some suggestions to him, and then he brought his music back to me one day. He was like, Mom, listen to this. And it was socially conscious rap. It was spiritual rap. And he found a couple of artists that are just amazing. You know, really, really amazing. I'm so thankful.
And why not shout out the artist?
Well, I don't know, and I just feel that, you know, it's not wrong to shout out positive artists, of course.
Well,
I think that it would be great to provide some lists in our comments after time or after the segment is over. But I just, you know, it's always about being fair, even when it's unbalanced. And this seems like one of those times to where it's unbalanced, because I definitely care about, you know, promoting positivity.
Right. Of course. I
but
think
it
it should
just,
be unbalanced.
you know, I also want to call out some folks too.
But so
I guess as long as we're keeping it positive, that's fine. But yeah, so you know, it's wonderful that he made some changes, made some choices that he was happy with, and it didn't seem as though Mama was making those choices for him. Mm-hmm. So, but just, you know, kind of, you know, at the times that are appropriate, just making sure that you know what they're listening to, that you are involved in listening to it and dissecting the lyrics with them to help them to have a different perspective on what they're listening to.
Yeah.
And offering suggestions,
but
alternatives.
Right. But child number 2, we got our eye on her. We got our eye. She's more inclined to listen to rap music and even some gangster rap. Yeah, I got 3 eyes. I got right there. I got the Cyclops. But she's more inclined. She's that type of child that she gets into that type of stuff, but she wasn't allowed to listen to it for the first 6, 17. Well, really, actually, until she left home. Mm-hmm. There were times that we knew that she was at school and she would listen to it in the locker room with her friends and all that stuff, but she knew she couldn't listen to it at home.
Oh, there was a time that we found on her playlist a whole lot of questionable stuff. And she probably, I think she lost her device at that time because she knew what she wasn't supposed to have on her phone. Mm-hmm. When we put the devices in their hands, you know, we were very lenient in the beginning. We said, you know, you have free reign. We're going to give you free reign to be responsible. As long as you're responsible, you have no restrictions. And then when we found that there were different things that they were doing that they shouldn't, we put some restrictions and we put a little more, and then we nailed lockdown.
So we have a lot of interesting stories, particularly about that child number 2, but then 1 and 3 too. So I have our stories, but as far as it relates to media and her kind of indulging in that type of stuff, then we have some stories about her. But yeah, so she listens to it now, and even when she does her little social media drops and posts, she'll have like some type of rap beat underneath it, which she didn't really know that it was the music or the beats from gangster music. And so I would look up the beat and find out exactly who that artist was, and I'll let her hear the songs and the lyrics, and I text the entire family to let them hear those lyrics so that they can hopefully listen and discuss and know, like, okay, well, this is not that good. And she's like, oh, I didn't know that it was saying that. But when that beat is locked in, and then when you hear that beat on the radio, and then you get hooked, that's how you get reeled in. But we've gone well beyond the time.
And I hope that we're still with you guys, because we have gone over.
Yeah. We'll talk more about it, but of course we won't. Maybe sometime later in the future. But we love you guys, love each other. It's free. Deuces. Sorry, Gary V. Ran out of time. All right, next time. Take care. Peace.
Bye, guys.
The American dream is what it's all about. White picket fence, a couple of whips, a couple of chicks, a couple of flicks. I'm for sure the division of Moses was not really about keeping up with the Joneses. From me to you, you better know this, man. Let my people go.
I'm eccentric, controversial. I'm political, somewhat subliminal. Philanthropic, non-conformist, so I'm criminal.